Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elizabeth George, Director of Member Engagement and Chapter Development with the American Guild of Organists. And I am very pleased to welcome you back to part 2 of a virtual choir for all of us. You all have been muted, but we do want to hear from you. So please, as many of you did last week, you submitted great questions and we do want to hear from you again. Use your cursor at the bottom of the screen. You'll see a chat box. Click on the chat box and you'll be able to post your questions. I will be viewing this throughout the presentation and we will make sure that we can address as many as possible. As well, just as last week, this webinar, as with all AGO webinars, is being recorded and we will do our best to get it uploaded to our website by tomorrow or the latest Monday. So now, I am going to tell you a little bit about our presenter, Carol Spradling, actually a lot more than I was able to last week. So Carol is a native of upstate New York. She began composing music at the age of 2, and her parents' house never got any quieter from that time on. She completed her undergraduate training at the University of Miami's Frost School of Music, and she was then offered a position at ABC News in London and relocated to spend 8 happy years there working, studying, and performing in the UK and in Europe. She's been featured in over 100 stage roles before retiring in one of my favorite roles, Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly. And she did this in 2018 to focus full-time on music, directing theater, and in wonderful home that she has with her church in Vermont. She is happy to be a jack of all trades. She maintains a private voice and acting studio for adults. She directs dozens of musicals with a middle school and across many theaters in the state of Vermont. Armed with blind faith and enough time to make a lot of mistakes along the way, in March 2020, with a virtual choir, she began leading her virtual choirs in dozens of recordings. Her philosophy is, trust me, if I can do it, so can you. So with great pleasure, I'm happy to introduce you to Carol Spradling.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and welcome back to everybody. It's a delight to be back with you today. Today I am in my studio, so I've got my gear around me, and that may play into kind of what we're talking about. We've got kind of 2 tracks going on today. The subject matter of Band Lab and virtual choirs is so huge, and we kind of just scratched the surface last week. So today there's kind of a part 2 to that. In other words, like, part 2 of the curriculum. But we've also got questions from you guys, which is exactly what I wanted. Like with, it's like when you're developing software, you don't want to just put it out there. You want to put it out there, have people try it, and have people go, wait, I couldn't figure out the, and that's kind of going to sort of be part of what we do today. Elizabeth, I know we talked about a follow-on to this, and that could be possibly in the works so that we actually have like a part 3. But today I'm going to do what I can to kind of, cover both, because I think that there are important parts of the, that I didn't get to last week, but then there are the all-important questions. So I'm just going to kind of start in here a little bit. I heard from several of you with great questions, and I think I can possibly fold some of what I was going to do in there. But what I had kind of for the part 2 today was post-production. So in other words, talking about syncing, making sure that how to, get the voices all sounding, together, because those issues can be fixed in post. And also we can start to manipulate audio in post. And that means, affecting, we can do some things for the quality of the recording. If it's not a good quality, we can do some things with that. We can also even affect pitch and tone if you want to go there with your singers. I have a singer that has very nasal vowels, and I'm able to kind of tweak that in post. But I think that we are kind of right now start with the homework and with some of the kind of FAQs that came up. And Sue, I see that you're with me today, and I'm really happy to not see your face. I wish I could see your face, but hi. And I've got some questions here from you that I'm just kind of reading out. Sue, why don't you unmute yourself? Or Elizabeth, if you could unmute Sue and I could talk to her at least.
I will do that. Just a second, Sue.
I will pull up the email in the meantime, but I seem to remember they were really, really good kind of generic questions that would affect absolutely everybody. Do I remember, Sue, as Elizabeth is figuring that out, I think I remember that one of them had to do with the 12.
Here we go. Sue is unmuted.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Carol.
Great to talk to you. So I know that one of your questions was just the most basically awesome one, which is, hey, we have a 12-track limit, and have I run into it, and what do we do about it? And absolutely yes. Now, BandLab is expanding and tweaking like as we speak, because everybody all over the world is every choir all over the world is kind of suffering the same problem right now, and everybody's looking for technical solutions like BandLab. So they're really expanding. So they could eliminate the 12-track limit probably without notice any moment. But right now, assuming that it's still there, the 12-track limit, I absolutely, what I would do is I would set up one project for the sopranos to record to, one for the alto, one for the, for the basses, so, etc. And then from there, I would do what's called mixing down. So I have my project that's all sopranos, and then I might got, let's just say it's two-part. I got my all sopranos are here, or all ladies are here, and all tenors and basses are over here. And then I just mix those together in post-production. However, that does require it doesn't require external software. You can mix down, let's say you have the sopranos and altos here. You can create a mix down of that, bounce that to audio, save it to audio, then create a mix down of the tenors and basses, save that to audio, bring those back up into a third BandLab project and combine them together.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. A little like baking, where you combine the dry ingredients, combine the wet ingredients, then put them together. So that's how I got around it. Probably a lo-fi way to do it, but that's what I did. And I've got your email up now. Let's see. The next one is it possible for choir members to modify my original project other than adding a track? And this is for everybody. We're going to talk today about what BandLab calls versions, and what I like to call Satan. It's hard to get your head around, and it freaks the choir members out. However, after about 2 or 3 sessions, people get used to it. And that is this: there's never a modification made to the original project. Instead, it just keeps saving a next version of itself. Save as, save as, save as. The only way that your choir can affect your original project is if they tape over you. But even then, there's going to be a version of that is saved. The problem or the challenge with that is you then need to be able to find all of those versions, which is the challenge. You got to find them all. And let's say somebody taped over your original, track 1, which will happen. You go back to your versions. I'm going to show you that in 1 second. Find your original project, and oh, boom, there's my original bed. And now I've got to pull down the bed, and, go back over and put it into the version that has all the singers. It's part of the reason that I want you guys to always use the bandlab.com interface to do your post-production, because in addition to just having more screen real estate to see some of the more confusing things, there are things that the website can do that they just haven't built into the app. The app is more for the person that's recording their voice in the the website interface is got off, more for post-production. So do we have screen sharing yet, Elizabeth, on my lovely Bugs Bunny that's standing over there endlessly holding his hand in the air?
1 second. Let's do this.
You know what? While you work on that, let me see if I can do it right here, so we're not held up. So if it's share screen, I think it's going to look like this. and I go share. And now I'm just going to pull up BandLab, which is in my other computer. And let's see here. There's BandLab. Okay. It was on a different project. So save changes. No, not right now. Okay. So hopefully
Got
everybody.
it?
Yeah. No, I'm sharing from my first video. So let's just make this work. Here I am, and I want to see if I can show you guys how to get here. So this is a project. It's its home page. You get there by going, what should I click up here? I'm at the top of BandLab, and I go, sorry, I got to get my Zoom out of the way. BandLab.com. Sign in. You go to this page. Top, I'm going to click on my profile. There's Bugs Bunny again, and a menu pops up. I go down to projects, and here's all my projects. Now I click on the project. Let's go to let's go to this. Okay, so I click on the project, and this is the home page of that project. From here, go down to this little mysterious looking window, and it says View Project History. This is where you're going to see the kind of ungainly and yet necessary way that BandLab stores your stuff. I go View Project History, I click on that, and what it brings up is on the left, I can see everybody that has gone into my file. Doesn't tell me what they've done, but I can see that they've gone in, and it says, you know, that they have edited in some way, whether it's added a track, it's probably added a track. Now I go over here, and to the right, you see these little, starting with the red lock icon at the top, and then this little thing, and you know, looks like a tree, looks like a family tree. You have to use your keyboard's arrow keys to go through here. For some reason, can't use your mouse. So I'm going to arrow down, and you can see that it looks like a little family tree, okay? And so where that lock button is, that's showing me that this was David Johnson right over here. David, that's his version. And then I go down here and down here and down here. And now look, something interesting happens. That's Jim Coates. He lives with me, so I have to be kind when I talk about him. Jim recorded, and probably what happened is that, who's this? Marcia recorded at the same time. So what BandLab did is it saved the version that Jim did, which would have been all these tracks plus his voice. It saved it. But at the same exact time, it saved Marcia's as well. And then look what happened. It kind of keeps happening. For whatever reason, Jim's got saved, and it kind of went, and it became a little offshoot branch. Marcia's got saved kind of as the main deal. And so all the people that then were recording afterwards were recording on the version that Marcia had saved, which means that when I go to do my post-production, I have to get Jim's track from out of its little, you know, house of isolation there in the isolation ward. I got to get it out of there and put it back here in the mainstream. And now it happened again up here. Who's this? It looks like, oh, it's me. Haha. So I wouldn't have to worry about that because that was probably me going in and doing something with a click track. And then that happened down here as well. And that's my friend John. For some reason, his always. So I have to get John's vocal out of the solitary confinement, and I've got to get Jim's and put those with the rest of them. And the last one that recorded up here, I won't worry about this one right here because that's me, but right up here at the tippy top, that's the last thing that got done. So that was the kind of the final. What I would do is I would go in here to this one. Let's see, can I open it from here? Oh, I can, from here, okay, open. I opened this version, gonna take a minute to load because of all the audio files. I'm not gonna actually manipulate this one right now. Let's see, I don't want this. Okay, so here's all of these. Now take a look, okay? And this is after many, many moons of recording with me. My choir still sometimes doesn't, they don't rename their tracks all the time. So see this track 3? All I have to do is listen to it and I'll know whose voice it is. And and the way that I listen to that one by itself is you go over here to the very left of your screen. See where it says track 3? Each of these tracks has an M and an S. These are very important, so write them down. You use mute to turn that track off. You use the S, that's solo, and that's to play just that track by itself. And if I go over here to the middle of it where there's some vocal and I listen, let's see, I'll start from here. For some reason it's got this thing going. Okay, so go over here and see if I can identify. Yep, I know who exactly that is. That's my friend Denise. And I go over here and I rename it by going here to these 3 dots. Click on that, menu appears, and I go down here to rename. And then I can put Denise in there, right? And then I take her off solo because, I'm going to want to listen to other people. So here's track 4. I don't know who that is. I put it on solo and I start playing with it. And that's Denise again. She's singing tenor this time. She's so amazing, great musician. And I go here, rename Denise. There's always a few in your choir that you're like, how would I live without this person? She's one. But see, this probably is one where I ran across the 12-track limit. Down here where it says drum machine, that was me creating a really lo-fi click track without having to use Logic, which is the DAW that I usually use on my Mac. I probably was out of town. So I have all of these lovely rainbow looking files and I would have to, but who's missing? Jim? Well, he was missing. He was missing when I went to do my mastering and I had to go and I had to pull up that other version. So now, right, let me find that. Let's pretend that Jim isn't here, okay? I save this version because I did do some editing. I put Denise's name on there and I go up here to exit and I click exit. Now I have to go back down here. Review project history. Oh, here's that tree again. And I use my arrow and I scroll down to the person I think is Jim. And I think, oh, okay, is that Jim? Is that Jim? Is that Jim? It is. Okay, now I want to open that version. So I go over to here where it says Jim Coates and I open it. And what this is this is this is Jim and all of the people who had recorded before him. I don't need to worry about their tracks because they're already going to be in in the kind of the main one. It's only Jim. His was the only little isolated one. So there's a bunch of different ways I can handle this. I'm going to use this way. I'm going to go over here to my 3 dots. I'm going to bring up the menu and it's going to say export track as a wave. That's what I want to do. And I click that one, export track as a wave. I figure out a way where you're going to save it on your computer. Where is it going to go? I click save. And then I come out of this version. I don't need to worry about saving it. I didn't edit it. I go back down here to view project history. I go back to the top. I click that one. I open it. I go back in here and this time I'm going to, I've got an empty track here where it says PV click and I'm going to take the file that I just saved and I'm going to just drag and drop it right into my empty track. I had one already. You would have to click up where it says add track. I put it here. I make sure that it's lined up at the beginning, more or less. I let go and there's Jim. I only had to, and then I kind of go on from there. And I had to do that with Jim, and I would have to go back and do the same thing with John. Now it happens that I had already done that. There's Jim, there's John, but that's what we have to do. And like I said, Sue, if you start getting, if your choir is huge and you got 35 people, you're going to be working with, multiple versions of these files, and you're definitely going to want to be working inside this web interface. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to exit because I didn't I didn't save anything that I want saved. I'm going to say don't save. And there I am. Did that answer your question, Sue? I'm hoping.
Yeah, very much. It's complicated, but it's possible to do what you need to do.
Yeah, it is complicated. Let me now just I'm trying to let's find your email again. Stop sharing screen over here. And Elizabeth, we don't need to worry about changing that video thing. We're good. Stay muted. Share screen. Get out of it. Get out of it. Let's see. Stop. Okay.
Carol,
Yeah.
we have a question, and you may not want to address it now. That is interesting. I noticed that in the handouts, you have a slide that refers to conducting Zoom choir rehearsals.
Yeah.
I'd like to have you speak a bit about that if you could.
That would be that right there would be an hour of this really.
Okay.
It really is there's an art to it. I can tell you that I don't, we don't sing, there's no way to sing with audio on. That's everybody's big question. There is, as of right now today, that I know of, bearing in mind that I was at a lake for 3 weeks, so I might be a little out of date. As of 3 weeks ago, when I went to that lake, there was no way, technically speaking, to create live singing, that happens in person, and it has to do with bandwidth and all that stuff. There's just not a way to do it yet, so that if I'm in my living room and your living room and you're in your living room, that we're singing together. So on my Zoom rehearsals, they are muted, and I am playing the background track. And I learned that by trying it with various ways. I use my piano, I use my other piano, I use my third piano. And eventually I was like, oh, why don't I just play the background track that you guys are actually going to sing to? And they all nodded with their, mute off. And they nodded and they put their thumbs in the air. And that's what we do. I do a very short rehearsal. I've learned absolutely that what I thought we could do in week 1, I've had to cut that in half and then keep cutting it in half until I found something really manageable. So we do about 50 to 55 minutes worth of singing. And then I do 20 minutes at least of them. This was during the lockdown, of them sharing out, talking, saying, hey, I'm okay. My daughter in New York City they're okay. They're fine. And we did that for about 20 minutes because it was so important. Let me see if I can get to the next question here. Let's see. Okay. So we talked about choir members can't modify anything, but they do have these versions. Is it possible for the next question was, is it possible for choir members to collide with each other? And so no, it is always a save as situation. I'm probably wrong. There probably is a way that choir members can mess something up, but I haven't run across it yet. And bear in mind, I'm talking about 80-year-old ladies. So I'm the daughter of one. I know that if it can be messed up when it comes to tech, they'll do it. Let's see. Is there a difference between band and project in BandLab? Yes. Band is the folder and project is the file. I'm sure that you guys ran across this. Somebody said band members are limited to 25. I had not run across that yet. I would love it if you would pop in the chat and let me know if that is something that you were running across, limited to 25. And if anybody has a workaround for that, be great. My choir is small. We're 22 people, so I hadn't run into it.
Someone had a question. I have experience using Camtasia. Do you think this would be a good software program to use?
I don't know that software program. I'm sure that there are other options out there. And when I did my research back in March and April, BandLab is the one that I focused on for meeting my needs in this basic virtual choir way. I will definitely check out Camtasia though. Let me see what other questions we've got.
Another one was, how do you make the Midi file show notes?
So that may or may not be something you can do directly in BandLab. I don't think, let me bring up a MIDI file. I think that all you can do in BandLab is you can see it as what's called a piano roll. Now the piano roll, once you get used to it, is editable and you can see it. Let me bring one up that has MIDI. There aren't many. Projects. My fake choir from last week, I think, had one. Let's see. There we go, the AGO shuffle. This had MIDI, right? So I open that. I think that's a MIDI. Yeah, that's a MIDI file. Okay, so here I double click on it, just boom, boom, like that. And now down here at the bottom, I can see it as a piano roll, all right? And the piano roll reads like this. Where my cursor is, that's C3. Did I use 3-3? Okay, I did use C3. It was a low note. Okay, so I was an octave down. So there's C3, and you can see how long it is in relation to what that gets a little technical, but that you can see that that's a short note, and 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 that's a longer one, and then two short ones. If I wanted to, for example, lengthen that, I put my cursor at the end of it and it becomes like a bar, and I just move the cursor like that. Now I have a long note. Let's say that the middle note, which I think looks like an E, let's say. Oh no, okay, it's an E flat, so I was playing like a blues riff. Let's say that I decided, oh, that's too bluesy. I want classical. I'm going to move that up here. Now it's an E natural, and I probably moved it in a way that kind of altered the rhythm. But once you get used to the interface, that will not happen as much. And I'll just listen. All right, I didn't do it. I think now I did it. All right. I think I put it, my screen is tiny, by the way. I'm looking at my laptop. But that is how you find your music and interact with it. The reason that I use an external, DAW is that gets really tedious when you're doing a lot of projects. So this right now is what I use. This is Logic. It cost me $200. It's the big brother of GarageBand. And when I go to edit a MIDI and I want to look at a score, this is what pops up. There's the piano roll again. I can do a lot with the piano roll. Like right here, this note is loud. I know because there's a color spectrum, and it gets, the louder it is, the redder it gets. And if I want to change that and make it less loud, I click on it and I go down here to velocity, and I can just make that note. See how it's getting less red? And now it's not going to pop out as much. I had like a overactive thumb or something. But if I want to edit notes, if I'm like, oh man, I just played Chopin and it was pretty decent, but I know there were a couple clunkers in there, I then can look at the score and I can edit it. Just like I click on this, I move it. I click on this, I move it. These little bars represent length. I can make them shorter or longer right here. This is one desktop audio workstation that works for me with my Mac environment. There are excellent ones for Windows, but it's just, that's kind of why I use one of these, because it got too much to handle in BandLab, and then then after a while it got to be too much to handle in GarageBand. Let me see what else.
Someone asked a question if you can share your computer sound of what we're looking at.
I can. I was having issues with that today when I rehooked up my gear. Let me see what I'm listening to here. You guys hearing that?
Yep.
So this is a work in progress. So the next things that I will be doing with this is addressing how how it's very kind of stompy and clunky. It doesn't sound like an organist at all. The next thing I'm going to go in here and do is clean that up. And then I'm going to take, right now, I think I've got all 4 staves together. I can pop out the bass, move that to a different track, change the instrumentation or the registration just for, that line so that it sounds like an organ bass part, take out some of the notes again so it sounds like an organ bass part. I can take the soprano, I can pop that up to another line, change the registration for that one. And that popping that you hear, did I mute myself somehow?
You did.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you missed my whole thing about how I was going to clean up the organ part. Did you miss that?
We just missed like the last 15 seconds.
Okay, fine. So I was saying that the popping that you hear is the click track, and it's an automatic setting. Click, 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 click. I just turn that off. It goes away. Theoretically, let's see. Did it click? Maybe it's not. Do I have drums in here? Maybe it is. I might have a drum part. Which, by the way, some of you were asking how to do a click track in BandLab. So the way you're going to do a click track in BandLab is you're going to use Midi, and you're going to go in there, and you're just going to hit quarter notes. You can do that for one measure, and then copy that measure and paste it throughout the rest of your song so that you have quarter notes. BandLab may have built-in drum machines. A lot of them do. So if I add a track and let's say I'm going to do instruments, and I want to do a click track. So I go over here. Let's see, I want to do a click track, and I go down here to instrument, and I say, okay, let's see, this drum kits, percussion. Let's go percussion, because drum kits get to be a little nutso. Percussion, all right? So I'm just going to record quarter notes as we go. And this, let's just assume that this is in the right tempo. There's a metronome right here. I don't use this metronome ever. I find it to be clunky to deal with. But let's say I go to my metronome and I got my tempo is 77. So we're in a kind of slow. And I put the metronome volume up and see if my audio issues will allow me to do this. And I just go over here and what am I doing? Can you hear the keyboard, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay. So let me see if this can hear the keyboard, because I don't usually do this way. And if not, I can just go here. So here's the lowest fi way. I go down here and I click record. Look. And I just record those quarter notes like that. Okay. Right now, I wasn't even listening to the metronome. It was kind of doing its own thing. So these may not be absolute, rock steady, but I would make sure that if I was doing a click track, that I was either doing that rock steady myself or that I was using a built-in drum machine. Sometimes these little things have patterns and loops built in for the kids to use with their electronic dance music. Get off my lawn. And yet they can be really useful, let's see if it's got one. Let's go drum kits. Let's see if it's got a drum kit built in. Okay, it does. Let's see if it's got any loops built in. Classic rock, looks like it might have loops built in. Oh, loops, there we go. Loops. All right, saxophone drills, let's see. Okay, no, I don't want rap. All right, I can't, I may look around for a loop if I was using it, but if not, I can go over here and let's see if it that's classic rock. Maybe that's the name of the kit. But again, I would look either for a pre-existing drum thing in the right tempo with the right feel, or just create that really simple one myself. Find a percussion, find a setting that is a bongo or cowbell, something that has a definite percussive attack and and fade, and use that. Just do quarter notes for one bar or two, then copy that. Here's my copy. See where it says loop like that? I click over here. I have not done this before. And look, I go to the top of that little blue thing, where I recorded the percussion. I click here on that loop thing. It becomes an arrow. I then hold down, however it is that you drag things on your computer. On my MacBook here, it is my trackpad, and I just go like this. Check it out. Now it's copying itself to the whole rest of the song without you having to do a bunch of Control V. And it'll just go as long as you want. Now, boom, we have a click track. We have a really lo-fi click track. Let me just jump here. Elizabeth, you have to shepherd me back. What question was I answering at that point?
Okay, well, here's one. And I had very basic question. I had trouble getting my vocal track from the phone app to the master application on my PC. I could only save the wave and import it.
Okay. So one of the things I did hear questions about is the difference between the phone app and the website, which is bandlab.com, and this new thing that they had created for desktops that I didn't know about called BandLab Assistant. So this is a very basic question, and I want to kind of just talk about that right now. So BandLab Assistant, first of all, guys, you don't need it, don't use it. Go to the website. BandLab Assistant is like the simple version. I would only use that if I had a choir member that was stuck and did not own a cell phone, and we were trying to, give her the wood burning version of BandLab because all she's got is an old computer. BandLab Assistant, we would put it on there for her. It only gives her what she needs, and she can go from there. But for you guys are the technicians and the directors and the engineers. Don't use it. Okay, the cell phone and mobile, that's the word, mobile, those interfaces are they're just relays for the website. And the stuff that you put on your phone saves to the website. It's the same stuff. I believe, people, that the experiences you were having with that stuff related to our good old friend over here, the project history versions, that tree, this thing here. That's my guess as to when you were recording things on your phone or whatever, and then you were trying to access it where it says view project history. Now, on your phone, I don't have a way of sharing my phone screen, but if you this is a question for you, pull up the BandLab app, and I'll show you where the project history exists on your phone. It's very, very different. So in BandLab on the phone, you go down to the down bottom page, find the little on the home screen, find the thing is, folder, click that, and then you have a list of projects, and you click with your thumb on your project, and then you bring up something that looks like, I'm sharing my screen for a second, okay? Let's see. It looks like this. Hopefully the glare is not too bad. So it does not, you have that little tree in there. The tree does show up, but then down there on the bottom, you've got this little, thingo here. The way to get to navigate between various versions of the project on your mobile is different. So remember I said on the computer, it's your keyboard's keys that you use to navigate the family tree. On the phone, this white box here at the bottom, you swipe it going left to right, like you would read a book. Swipe it, okay? So I swipe it, boom, and there's another one of the same exact thing, that white box. And you'll notice that the little lock icon, which was up on top, when I swipe this box here and I bring up the next one, now that little thing is on the bottom. So that is where you will find orphan files on your phone, or something, that you recorded and you can't find it. But again, director to director, okay? Girl Scouts honor here, 3 fingers in the air. Use bandlab.com for all that stuff. So even if you've recorded something on the phone, it saves to the same place, the cloud, out there. And then to find it, go to bandlab.com and start looking. And it'll be in this crazy view project history area. right here on your, once you navigate to the page for your project, it's going to be here in the view project history, and it's going to be somewhere in this tree. And it may, like I said before, take some retrieval. Next thing.
Okay, we had Philip Newton join us. He had submitted some questions.
Hi, Philip. You had great questions. Let me.
Okay, I'm going to unmute you, Philip. Or can you unmute yourself?
I just did.
Great, thank you.
So one of my questions had to do with the phantom track is what I called it. I would record a version and then it would disappear. And it sounds to me like the versions that you just showed us, that my version that disappeared may be out there as a previous version. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think that's my best guess as to what is going on, because I have not experienced, and believe me, I was a complete rookie when I started this. I have not experienced the loss of anything. Just the weird misfiling of it that I found, I found all that stuff in the project version, that tree.
So you just said that when you're working in bandlab.com and that's your master project, that when someone records something on an iPhone or an iPad, that it is automatically saved up to the.
Yep.
Okay, so I probably have it then in a version.
Yeah, you just have to find it.
Right.
It's not helpful that, like, right now, if you look at my screen, you see, I see over here two things. It says Carol Spradling, that's me. And then another one that says Carol Spradling, well, that's me too. In order to find out what it is that I did differently, I have to actually open it. 9 times out of 10 or even more, the one at the top, the latest thing that you did is what you're looking for. But every once in a while, like you said, it's like, oh, that flute part, I've got to go find it somewhere. And it's hard to tell which one it is with just Carol Spradling as a description. I do see that you can, no description, edit. So here's a little thing I never even used because I was always in such a rush, to get the post-production done. But here on my project version history page, I'm seeing top Carol Spradling, and another one, Carol Spradling, and there's a thing that says no description, edit. Well, let's say I did that sleuthing and that's the one that's got the flute part, and I would edit this one and say, flute part.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that's where I have to go to find the flute part.
Okay, so we're going to do a scavenger hunt after this session.
Yes. And it's one of the huge things that I was already on my radar to talk about today, because it's your choir members, and that's what I want to kind of, pivot to a little bit right now is, we're talking about some things that I want, to do an advanced version of this for you guys, for audio, for mastering, how to manipulate audio, how to make sure that, you've got people that, all sang the S at different points. And to me, that matters. And I can edit my files, and that's pretty easy to do. That's for you. Then there's this whole other, way that we need to think as directors, which is, okay, what's the end user experience for my choir member going to be? How will I know to answer their questions? And I just want to say one brief thing about that right now, which is have them use their phones or iPads or whatever. At almost all costs, unless you've got somebody that really knows what they're doing. Like I've got the guy I told you about that's an engineer. He wrote a 30-page, dissertation on how to open BandLab for, choir members. He's got every audio thing in the world in his house. So the thing that's sitting in front of me that I'm pointing to right now, which is this fancy microphone, which is, hooked into my digital audio interface, which is hooked into my computer. Unless somebody's got that stuff laying around, they're not going to be able to record on their computer because their microphone doesn't, their microphone, which has an XLR at the end of it or an audio cable, those don't go into a computer. They have to go into a piece of electronics that then translates that data into, that translates the sounds into zeros and ones, digital, and then send that into the computer. So it's really, it seems really old school and lo-fi to use a computer, but it's actually really complicated and more cumbersome. So going back to that example that I said, earlier about the little old lady who doesn't have a cell phone and she just went, all she's got is an old computer. I would have to bring her a digital audio interface and a microphone to go with it in order for her to record. Can she use her, the microphone that's built into the laptop? Yes, but they really are, beyond terrible. They really, really are for singing and music. They've got what's called compressors and limiters in there. They're meant to make sure that your, speaking voice doesn't get too shouty or too quiet. So when singers use that, the microphones in these laptops themselves are, making decisions about what the audio should sound like that are not decisions you want made. That's if there even is a microphone, and some of those older computers don't have microphones, or the ones they have are just, what I just said, but 15 years, worse. That makes sense? So when it comes to end users, have them use their cell phones if at all possible, because the cell phones, even though the microphones do have those compressors and limiters in there, they are just way better, and they allow for a lot more range of expression. The other thing that I was going to talk to you about is sound checks. And this is something you can put into Zoom rehearsals. You know what sound checks are. You would do them if you were recording your own voice, but the singers don't necessarily know, or they think that, oh, if I have to do a sound check, that means like maybe I'm not a good enough singer. Well, baloney. Professionals do major sound checks. The sound check that you want your singer to do is basically I'm going back to BandLab here. Am I sharing? No. Okay, let me share screen. Share. This is something that I did that actually made a difference. They actually listened to me, which they don't always. Let me go back here to this other project that I had built, come up, because it's a good example. Sorry. Come on, page. Okay, me, projects. I'll show you an early one because they really had this going on. Okay, let's see. This probably would be good. Okay, this is a anthem. It was early on, and it's Love Divine, All Loves Excelling, so it can get a little, screechy in there. So I'm going to go down here to view project history, and then I'm going to open it, and let's just use this one. It probably has it in there. Open. Whoop. Okay, open up at the top. Let's see if it's got it. Oh, this has it in, let's see. Okay, not as much. So, doesn't matter though. It's a good example. Look at these audio waveforms, and you can see down here for Terry, that's Terry, that I probably made that mistake. Terry's audio, compared to everybody else, is going to be really quiet. And I happen to know that it is because she's using a microphone that she was stuck with during the lockdown. So Terry's audio is going to be really quiet, and it's very, very hard to pump audio up. You get all kinds of like hissing and stuff like that. If somebody's audio is just, recorded way too quiet, some things you can do about it, but not a lot. Andrea, same thing. She's kind of got really quiet audio here. And now over down here, Michael's is just where I want them to be. It's not too loud. It's not too soft. It's right there. You can see that the waveforms actually have some shape to them, but they're not going up and clicking the top and the bottom. If the bigger these waveforms get, the louder. And I've got people whose cell phones just have a really loud microphone built in, either that or they're just, standing really close to the mic. And I would get these waveforms from them, and it was, pretty much always the same people, that the waveforms were so big that the top of them and the bottom of them were hitting these the sides of this little, ribbon here. Does that make sense? So the waveforms were so big that they were clipping. That's literally what it's called, is clipping. They were bigger than the allocated sound space, and we would get really unpleasant results from that. So your sound check for your folks is basically just they open BandLab, or they can use the voice recording thing on their phone. Put the phone where you're likely to, have it, and then sing. Don't do a sound check where you're going testing 1, 2, 3, because guess what? That is not at all representative of what they're going to sound like. So you get testing 1, 2, 3, Z, you know, so they've got to sing, really sing, and then look at it. And if it's too loud, just even just take a step back. You know, that works. That's the lo-fi solution. Or conversely, a little bit of a step forward if it's too soft. So have them do sound checks. Let's see what else comes up. The versions, that comes up all the time. The singer's like, but I'm confused. What happened to my thing? I recorded it and it's not there. You're going to have some education to do about versions, what those are. And, you know, basically just rest assured everything, you know, everything alto that you record in BandLab 100% is saved. It doesn't lose things, but it sometimes files them in weird places and we just have to go and find where it got to. All right. How am I doing for time?
You're good. You're very good.
Great.
We've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
But I mean, if we go over, we go over. I've been trying to monitor questions here. Did you answer, is there a length limitation to a project?
No, not that I have run across. No. And I've recorded preludes. I will say this, the longest thing I've done was an anthem. It's probably 12 minutes long. That's the longest thing I've done. So, you know, for your cantata or whatever, you can maybe Google that. But I don't think that there is a limit to that the way there is to limit, you know, to the number of tracks. What else? I know we have Philip here, and I don't think I answered all your questions, Philip.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Philip. Okay. Philip, you are unmuted.
She answered them all.
No. We don't know how does it get back to you?
Well, she says it automatically saves.
Okay.
I think you did answer all my questions. I think I'm going to have to go to the versions and look at the past versions.
Yeah, I think that yours had to do with that weird, you know, kind of infuriating filing system, you know. That's where all that stuff goes. And let me know through Elizabeth, let me know if you actually run into me being wrong about that and there's something actually lost. But I think it's all there in the versions.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Other questions for the Q&A?
Think that may. What do you do to make some tracks louder or softer? I think you went over that, did you not?
I did not.
Okay.
I talked only in a brief way about you can see which ones are loud and soft. So, audio manipulation. This is the reason that I encourage all of you to use Midi for your own, for your stuff, for the director stuff. Use Midi because it's so easy to edit, and that, you know, sort of takes that away from a thing you have to worry about, because audio is tricky. Now, I haven't done a lot of audio editing in BandLab. I am going to exit out of this project, which is an actual project, and I'm going to go to a test, you know, to one that I can show you some audio manipulation. Let's see, project. Forgive me, project. And then let's see, Carol and Jim, because I can always, okay. Test track. I think this has some audio in it. I just really didn't want to edit anything of, oh, there we go, test track. And this was obviously Jim and I. So let's open this. Okay, looks like. Oh yeah, that's not useful to us. I'll bring up a different one. Project. Mic tests, great, okay. This was me with several microphones. What they sounded like. Okay, I'll open this.
I do have another question.
Yes.
And maybe if there are a few moments, how would you combine tracks together into one, such as a tenor section, so that you could have more than 12 tracks if that is the case?
So if you need to do more than 12 tracks, create separate projects. Upload your backing track into each of those projects. So let's say let's just make it clean. My choir is small. I would say I'm going to have one project that the sopranos and altos record into, and another that the tenors and basses record into. So far, there's no combining needed. And I just record I just upload the backing track to each one of those and then turn it loose, and the choir does their thing. If I need to start mixing things, like let's say I have to, so when I want to mix those down, when I want to combine the sopranos and altos and the tenors and basses, there are lots and lots of different ways to do it, of course. One of the ways is basically to do a mix down, which I'm about to show you guys. Do a mix down of one, do a mix down of the other one, and then combine them. Want me to show you what that looks like? Okay, let's do this. So these are audio files that I want to interact with and look what happens with my iPhone versus one of my studio mics down here. So this mic right here, that iPhone mic, that's a hot microphone. I'm glad I did my sound check. These mics are set to one level and the iPhone is like, wow, way out there. So one of the things I can do with this one is I go down here, let's see, go down here to editor. Okay, so now I'm in editor, and here is that one track, and I want to just want to take the gain level down. So there's various ways that you can do that. One of them is to go over here to effects, preset, let's see, no, whoop, effect, come out of that. No, I don't want psych vocals, go here, add effect, and I just want basic gain, utility gain. How did I find that? How do I know? How did I know how to do gain? I played around with it until I found the thing that I wanted. However, I will tell you that gain basically is what audio engineers say when they mean volume, right? So here's gain. I go down here. It's under utility because it's just a sort of a basic thing. I go gain, and I take my one hot track and I go beep, 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 beep. Now it should balance better with the rest of them. Right? Let's say that we've got tracks here that have S's at different times and it's driving you crazy. I go over here, I listen to it, I play it until I come to the offending S. Let's say it's right here. Okay, right here. There's the offending S. And I listen to it again, and sometimes I have to go, oh, wait a minute, who's that S that's sticking out? And that's where I have to use these solo and mute things. It's like, okay, well, I think that one is Tim. Let's listen to him just solo. Yeah, that does sound like, does sound like that's the right one. Take the solo off, listen to it again. Yep, that's the one that's sticking out. So here's the one that's sticking out. It's AKG. So AKG, you're sticking out on your S. I go over here. This is where the S is. And I'm going to, let's see if it's here in a menu. Trim. Yes. I'm going to slice it or cut. You can do cut. What do they call it? It's called trim on my other one. Let's go here and here, and I go slice. Yep. Okay. Now it's made a slice. Now I have to either do one of two things. I have to either take the word that is offending and move it. So I could do that by going like this. I find the word. Let's say that's the word. I slice this again, slice, boom. Now I've got the word here, and I have to move that. By the way, to make these tracks bigger so that you see more of them, go to the top right. You got a minus and a plus. Click the plus. Now I'm seeing more of the track. It's not making it any longer. It's not affecting the sound. It's just giving me more visually. So let's say this is the offending word, and I think it's going to line up if I take it and put it over here to line up with the word that is above it. So I can just, move it. Or I may decide, you know what? I don't need Tim's S because I have 16 others. So I go at that point and I can get really granular. I find the S. I make this really big until I find just where that S is, okay? And I say, oh, there's the S right here. I go here, I slice it, and then I go here. Does that do it? All right, here, slice, should do it. Slicing it. Disable, okay, I'm having a user difficulty, but I would find that little S. I would slice it until that little S was the only thing that I had, you know, going here. And then I would just click delete. Bye-bye, gone. Bye-bye S. So I can either move these around or let me see if I can do this. Actually, I go over here. Let's see if it lets me slice it. Okay, that did. And let's say that just is the S. And I just go here, delete, bye-bye. So moving or deleting. And I'm really, a lot of the times, just, you know, just talking about word sync. Word sync. So that when I say, you know, my country, 'tis of thee, and you say it, that our words line up. Then another thing you can do here, let's say I'm going down here to AKG, my offending track. And that was the one that was, what did we say that was? I don't know. That was something. Oh yeah, that was the S. So I keep listening, and I decide, okay, the other thing I've noticed as I listen to AKG solo is that AKG is singing way out of tune. Unfortunately, there is not intonation correction here in BandLab, at least as of 3 weeks ago when I went to the lake. There was no pitch correction. So you would need to export that into Audacity. Audacity is free. It runs on all platforms, Windows and Mac, and it does have intonation stuff built in there. And as you start working with these and your expectations of yourself are just gonna, like, they're just going to evolve. You're not going to be as happy in week 12 with stuff that you were happy with in week 1. Intonation is probably one of the things that's going to hit your radar. And that's where using an external DAW like Audacity for your audio is just a great way to do this. And then in there, you can do pitch correction, which I can't show you here today, but I can show you some of the other things that you can do over here, down here in Editor. Go here to effects. So let's say AKG is singing really flat, but I also noticed that AKG has got a little bit of the New England flat vowel, you know, happening. Okay, I'm not in love with this. So I go over here and I can do a couple things, and these really are, you got to play with them. I can do a couple things, let's say with EQ, I can go, yeah, you know, one of the things I can do with that is I can just kind of gently move the mid-range down a little bit because that's kind of where that lives. And voila, I'm going to have a better sounding track. As you can see, this gets really time consuming if you're doing this on a kind of molecular level. So you're not going to do it in week 1 or 2. Week 1 or 2, you know, or 3 or 4 or 9. You're just getting people used to it. After a while, you're like, okay, I'm a little bored. I'm bored with just, you know, throwing these things together. I want some artistic stuff. I used to sit at that organ and I would register things and I would create modulations and do amazing little things like, you know, descants up on the you know, the third manual that nobody, you know, knew but me, but I knew that it enriched my soul. Well, now you can do that with graphic EQs and pitch correction and all kinds of cool stuff in audio. Yeah. Just putting.
I've sung in many a choir when I know my choir director has wished the pitch correction could have been that easy and quick.
Thing. We got stuff that we, if only there was a pitch correction button when they don't know the anthem as well as or, you know, for the one soprano that sang with the Metropolitan Opera in 1953, we're just going to turn you down a tiny little, you know, because your voice
is amazing.
Now, let's do a basic mix down. I think you guys have probably already gotten here, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to do a mix down. First of all, to do this in external software, which I love. Let's say we've got Audacity, it's free, you download it and you know, you've gotten through the first few weeks. To take these stems and download all of them so that you have them individually and you can play with them in better software than this, you go up here to File, you go over here to Download, and it says Download Tracks. Tracks. It is going to take a hot second to create something. I don't know what, but it's going to show me a graphical interface that makes that really easy to do. Great. Yeah, this is the one I'm hoping for. Each one of your tracks, labeled shows up. This is where it's really important that you do relabel your choir singers tracks. So even if you know that that purple one is Denise, you start to lose the plot a little bit when you're looking at things like this. So now each one of these stems has a little download thing, and you're going to do them individually. So it's going to take a moment. And each one of these, you click download, you tell it where you want it to go. By the way, I create files for each project, and I create files for each one of my recording projects. I'm talking about like on my computer, but then I have a sub file that I use for just the audio tracks, just because then I've got the audio tracks separated out and I can do things like Control A or whatever. So I tell it where I want it to go, and then I tell it to save. I do that with each one of these. That is one way to do it. Another way to get these tracks out of there, let's say you only needed one. Like I've got everybody's, but this yellow one, I go over here to the three dots. Once it lets me, click the three dots, and here again, this option, export track to as WAV. And you click on that, and it's going to ask, okay, where do you want it saved? And you tell it. For whatever reason, just FYI, when you use your file download, I believe that those save as MP3s, or yeah, I think it's MP3s. And when you do it this way down here, just like using the three dots, if you're doing it one track at a time, that saves as a WAV. It doesn't matter. They're all usable by all of the external desktop software. So that's just something I didn't want you to worry about. And that's what you do to get them out of here. To mix them all down, if you're saying like, okay, it is Saturday night, it is 10:49, it's a hymn, church is at 9 in the morning, I just want this thing done. You take, you got all your tracks recorded, you went and you did your project history, and you found all of those little, orphaned tracks, and you brought them all in here. You go up here to file, you go to download, and this time download has an arrow. You go to here, you go to mix down as. Should not be long this time because it already processed the audio files, she says. Thank you, Comcast. We're all getting older. Great. Okay. Now it asks you this question, like medium quality, high quality, highest quality, high quality. Go in the middle. Yeah. Highest quality is it can have sound issues. Go high quality. You don't want a WAV or an HD WAV if you're sending this to your church for them to play in a service, because their software may not know what to do with WAV files, but everybody can handle MP3s. And even medium quality, by the way, is okay. Yeah, if your audio people at church are brand new, I would go medium quality, because let's do that. Let's go medium quality, and then I just hit this download thing, and then it thinks about it, and then you tell it where to save. You save it as an MP3, and then you can send it off to wherever it needs to be for church the next day. That's your mix downs. Basic mix downs. Yeah? Okay.
Amazing.
One last thing, and that's this. I alluded to, and forgive me, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to show you guys something. I alluded to microphones and headphones and things like that. So, and in my slideshow thing, there's, some more information, but just the briefest of things. So you got your singers, and one of them says, yeah, but I've got an iPhone and it doesn't have a headphone jack. The answer to that is this. They make a dongle that's got, this is a different dongle. They make a dongle that looks like this, except it's got your lightning cable goes in here, the other way around. Your headphone adapter goes in here, and there's a lightning cable on the end, and that plugs into the iPhone. And I hate to say it, Apple can be just horrible sometimes, but I think it's like $25. Sucks. $25. Anybody that does need to use a microphone, you can get a USB microphone for not much money on Amazon. I got one for $5. It's probably worth $5, but it's still a little, it's still better than the thing that's built into most people's laptops. And And then I got a decent one. I think it was 30. If all they've got is an old school, you know, the microphone that looks like this. The microphone that looks like this with a cable that looks like this on the end, you know, that's an XLR. That's an XLR in, but you know what I'm talking about. Then the answer is this. I'm literally going to move my laptop until you can see it. Can you see it yet? No, no. Hey, there's my Nord. Hello. And there it is, that red box right there. That's my digital audio interface. So I'm talking to you through it right now. You can see on the front, it's got inputs for 1/4-inch phono cables, which those are the ones for my keyboard left and right. And it's also got inputs from my 2 microphones that are here. And out the back, it takes all of those sound signals, and it's also got headphones. So that's what I'm doing right now for this. When you have your microphone on, speakers have to be off because the least of your problems, if it doesn't happen, is that you get, the recording doesn't sound very good because you're getting bleed from the sound of the speaker going back into the microphone. That you don't want. But the other thing that can happen is you can have an ear-piercing, hearing damaging shriek that comes out of the speaker. So when a microphone is hot, speakers around it are off, and you're using these. These are cans. They have to be wired because Bluetooth will create audio lag so that, the audio doesn't match up. And they really need to be closed-eared because otherwise you get bleed. It's just not as much. But that is an audio interface. Out of the back, there's a USB cable, and the USB cable goes into my computer. So all my audio goes through that. They can be had. That mine is super fancy because I got really sick of plugging and unplugging and plugging and unplugging with microphones and keyboards. So I've now got, like a bunch of inputs, but you can get a two input. Don't get the one with 1 input. You'll hate your life. Get the one with 2. And I think that they're $100, and you can get them used for like $50. And that's how you use your microphone. Cheapo headphones if they have to be, but closed-eared and with a cable. Microphone into a digital audio converter. That goes into your PC. That was my last topic.
I can't thank you enough. This has been amazing. And we had one comment saying, when is session 3 coming? But it's been wonderful. And Carol, I can't thank you enough. We, as I said, have recorded this. It should be uploaded by tomorrow. If you have other questions this week, please send them to me and I'll forward them on to Carol. And the initial handout that we had last week is the one that they should still use with what we have been talking about today. Is that correct? The deck that you did?
That is the only slide thing that I have. So that kind of has everything on there. It doesn't really go granular into audio because I couldn't, because every situation is different. It doesn't go granular into audio post-production. That's a kind of a separate thing. And yeah, like I think that possibly if we need to do, another one of these, it would just be a masterclass where I just answer questions and people say, people actually have their live projects that we can sit down and work with and go, oh, I see that you ran into this, et cetera. And that's basically, I also did a course along the way in Midi. And that's how I learned is I made my mistakes. And then a guy that actually is the music director of Frozen on Broadway listened to what I was doing and went, you did that. And that's how I learned.
There you go.
All right.
You go. Carol, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for participating in this wonderful workshop. As I said, we'll hope to have this video uploaded by tomorrow, the latest Monday, and we will see you at the next webinar. Everybody stay safe and stay well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.